Yes, day 18. I'm finally at day 18 with the Samsung Galaxy Note. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and it's day 18 of day 30 with my challenge with this big old device. And I've had it for a while, been using it as my personal device, and there are a lot of things I like about it and a lot of things that I'm still struggling with. One is the size. I talk about that in every single one of the videos. It's a big device, and you can see if you haven't caught up with the series, first of all, catch up with the series, but second of all, it is a big device. It's hard to hold in the hand, and it's hard to use for one hand. So if you're a fan of one-handed operations like I am, perhaps you're walking and you're trying to text or do something, it's a little bit harder to do it on this device. A couple of other things. I switched over a few days ago to the AT&T LTE version, and I've been pretty impressed with the LTE speeds. What I will say is it does take its toll on battery life, though. I've had this device now for a couple of days, the LTE version that is, and I've noticed that it does take its toll, especially if you're running Bluetooth and LTE or even just LTE. I do struggle now to make it through the day, with pretty heavy use, and that's it is better than any other Android device I've worked with the exception of the Droid Razr Max. That's still kind of the Mac Daddy in the battery department, but with pretty heavy use, I'm sitting at 6 o'clock right now at 36%, as you can see here. So 36% at 6 o'clock. I pulled it off the charger this morning at 7, so for an Android device, it's pretty good, but still 36% with heavy use. It does have a big display, and I am finding that 9 or 10 o'clock rolls around and it's saying please recharge or it dies. And so that is a little bit of a difference from the international version, which did make it through the day without any issues, but you didn't get the LTE speeds. Another little thing cosmetically, I kind of would like to see the white one. I'd love to try it out. I actually prefer the white one to the black one. Yeah, it's personal preference, but still, we've seen so many black phones over the years in comparison to white phones. I really like the glossy back on the white version. This has kind of a texturized, let me hold it up so you can see, it has kind of a texturized battery cover as opposed to the glossy one that's on the white version. And of course the white has the blue capacitive buttons as well. It just looks good. I'd like to try the white one at some point. It's a minor cosmetic thing. I'm getting used to the S Pen, and it's funny because I'm finding that I use it on quite a few occasions. Just today I was on a call and immediately needed to write something down. Didn't have any paper right in front of me, so without thinking, I just pulled out the S Memo, clicked it, and started writing. And I was like, I'm kind of getting used to using this device on a regular basis, using S Memo for quick things and cool little pictures like this. I have friends that have used it over the weekend and have drawn pictures like this. It's a little bit better than my art. Let me show you their art in comparison to my art, and you can clearly see that that first one was not drawn by me. So you can see it's fun to play around with. It's fun to put that stuff to the test. I drew a kind of a composite sketch here about Charlotte Douglas International Airport because, in case you didn't know, being an airplane nerd is my other hobby that I don't do for a living. So 8 megapixel camera, still pretty impressed with that. Call quality's been good. One thing I have noticed on the AT&T version is that I find that the signal strength indicator stays at roughly 2 to 3 bars of service, kind of regardless of where I'm at. So, for example, there's this known dead spot when I come into the office and I go down the elevator from the parking deck to the first floor. There's always a dead spot in the elevator, and it holds at 3 bars on the phone even though the call gets choppy. So I'm like, I was on the phone a couple of days ago and heard it get choppy, and I was like, wait a second, what's going on? So I pulled it down, I was like, I'm in the dead spot. I looked down and it still had 3 bars of service. I was like, that's kind of interesting. And it's either a slow refresh or it just stays at 3 bars. Very rarely do I see it drop to 2 or 1. So I don't want to say misleading, but maybe the signal strength indicator is a little bit slow on the refresh. It doesn't refresh as quickly as some other devices. So that's one thing I found. Again, the battery life is a concern. And I talked about when I initially got this device about the AT&T version being a little bit faster. At least I thought it was faster with the 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor as opposed to the 1.4 gigahertz dual-core Exynos that's in the international version. I will say after using it for a couple of days, I almost have to kind of reverse my opinion there. I think the international one's slightly faster. I'm finding a little bit of lag, and I don't know if it's because I've kind of been running this one for a couple of days. I've loaded up some text messaging threads, and I'm the person that never deletes text messages. So I mean, these are long text message threads, and I've loaded up my music and my applications on this device, and I do see a little bit of a stutter from time to time, particularly when I'm opening like a text message or something. I see it stutter with the animations, and I'm thinking, hey, it's got a pretty powerful display, 1280 by 800 Super AMOLED HD display. That's a lot to power even with a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor. So my assumption is that it's struggling to with the animations. And I see it the most, like I said, when I'm dealing with animations or I'm doing a portrait to landscape transition or something that involves some animations in it. I do see that as an issue. Otherwise, pretty decent device. I'm still struggling with typing. My typing is just slowed down. It's not going to speed up. I've kind of accepted the fact that because of the big display, my typing's just slowed down. And combined with an ever so slight lag, I'm seeing just a little bit of a lag when I go to do, I'll show you a sample here, for example. A sample, for example, that's a pretty good read. You can see, of course, I'm using the Ice Cream Sandwich donation keyboard, which I've talked about in previous videos. But even typing as quickly as I can, I notice it hangs up from time to time, and it happens on the stock Android keyboard as well. So I don't know how much of it's a lag and how much of it's just the actual Ice Cream Sandwich donation keyboard that I'm using, but still slower than other devices I've worked with, the iPhone 4S, some other Android devices, the original Galaxy S2 series, and some other Windows Phone stuff and other things that I've worked with. So that's a little bit of a frustration for somebody like me that sends 200-300 emails on a regular basis, sends or receives emails, and sends and receives a lot of text messages and kind of relies on that type of input. It is a little bit frustrating. Otherwise, getting used to the size, like I said, still a large device, but I'm kind of getting accustomed to carrying it around. Still a great conversation starter. I was at a restaurant a couple of days ago, and I can't remember if I talked about this in the last video or not, but the server actually asked me if he could hold it up and poll the restaurant on whether it was a phone or a tablet. So there are like 20 people in this restaurant, and he raises the phone up and he's like, do you think this is a phone or a tablet? And it was about half and half, but it makes for a great conversation starter. It makes for a lot of fun interactions with people, and I'm still rocking Galaxy Note. So it's going to go with me to Barcelona, and I'll let you know either from there or after I return what I think of the device, because the 30 days is coming up pretty quickly. And so the verdict's going to be out. Will I carry this device after 30 days, or will I put it down for something else like another Galaxy S2 or the iPhone 4S again? You're going to have to wait and find out at the end of the challenge.